Hello, welcome to this your channel on the Meta Eurofan, that's me. If you know me since some time ago, I have to say that it is anniversary day today, as this channel turns 3 years old. Saying it like that is easy, it's amazing how time flies. If you are knowing me for the very first time instead, then welcome aboard and I hope you have a nice day here. Seizing the opportunity in this video, I will be doing something different of what I usually do on the episodes of the channel, and I will be releasing exclusive special content. Without further delay, let's begin with this anniversary episode. You must be knowing the dynamic of the channel already if you come here regularly, but if it is your first time here, you can see it in further detail on the following video up here. Now this time I want to do something different than what I normally do with the reviews, and I had the idea of commenting about my 10 favorite entries of the last 10 years, both in Eurovision and Junior Eurovision. In this case, I will be commenting each one of them, explaining why I picked it as my favorite, what I think about the live performance at the contest, and what the final result was, as well as additional comments about the entry. Having said this, let's move on with the recap. First, I will begin with the edition for the juniors, which casually matches with the time I have been following the junior contest much closer. Let's go back to 2015 to the edition held in Sofia, Bulgaria, and my favorite that time was the Albanian entry, which was represented by Michela Rappo with the song Dambaye. I remember it was one of the first songs I have heard from that edition, and the hook was instant. I like 3 things from this entry. Apart from Albanian and English, it also includes greetings in other languages like Turkish, Italian, German, French, and Serbian by giving it a more international touch, appealing to the message of unity and love that it intended to transmit. The fact that the chorus featured invented words, including the song's title, in which despite not meaning anything, it makes you want to sing it, and but the soft and powerful voice from Michela. During the junior contest, she had a simple but effective performance, especially with that dress adorned with the same greetings in different languages mentioned in the song, which granted her in this case the best result for Albania in the junior contest today by reaching the 5th place, although they have not repeated that result again since then. For the Bulgarian capital, now we travel to the Mediterranean, remembering the edition held in Valletta, Malta. Very few entries got my attention in that year 2016, but if there was one that I liked the most was the Serbian one, which was represented by Dunja Jelicic with the song Ooh La La La. It is a song that for me has that fun character and encourages to move your feet and dance, in addition to the melody that is definitely catchy. In the junior contest, however, I thought she was very alone on the stage. I would have liked her to be joined by other children in electric scooters like her, by making a more striking choreography, and it is to stand out by the way that she had a great vocal performance with the song, even with herself moving with that electric scooter all over the stage. But in the end, I felt very sorry for her because she unfortunately placed last in the final ranking. But well, these are things that happen sometimes, taking into account that the points were more evenly distributed in that edition. In 2017, the junior contest was being held in a Caucasian country for the second time, being celebrated that time in Tbilisi, Georgia. On that occasion, my favorite was another Serbian entry, which was represented in this case by the girl duo Irina Rodic and Jana Balnovic with the song Seus Vejenash. They were so charming to me from the very beginning. I like especially that roleplay they had done, like those good friends that play being the groom and the bride, in addition that their voices matched perfectly. During the junior contest, they kept that fun and playful element, having done an outstanding performance, which granted them the 10th place in the final ranking. During 2018, the junior contest traveled for the second time to Minsk, Belarus, and in this case, my favorite from that edition was the Macedonian entry, which for them the country was still referred as former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, represented by Marija Spasovska with the song Doma. It is true that the song is very dramatic, but I had to say though what I loved most was her voice, which sometimes was sweet and sometimes was powerful, and also that phrasing during the song. In the junior contest, although the performance was right, I felt it was lacking that strength the studio recording had, thus it gave me the feeling that the performance was a little deflated. Even so, she got a very good position during her edition by placing 12th. Now we go to Poland, where our edition of the junior contest was being held for the very first time in 2019, specifically in Gliwice. This time my favorite entry was a Dutch one, represented by a very young Matthew with the song Thanks Me Yo. It was a song that catch me from the very first moment I had heard it, in addition that it is very dynamic and cheerful, which is not strange or new, as the country usually selects this kind of entries with a lot of movements and a lot of dance. In fact, that same hectic and danceable dynamic scene, both in the official music video and the national final, was seen at the junior contest as well, standing out in this case that, unlike the original version, the chorus was slightly modifying the chorus during the live performance by translating more phrases to English. The performance was flawless and he gave it all on the stage. I was not pretty sure if it would be enough to win, but he ultimately placed it at the very top in the final ranking, achieving in this case a remarkable 4th place. The following year, in 2020, the competition stayed in Poland after the back-to-back victory, although that time the organization of the edition was done in a smaller scale in a television studio in Warsaw, as the consequences caused by the COVID-19 pandemic were still present, and the majority of the countries competed remotely from their countries of origin. This time, the French entry was the one that got all my attention, which was represented by Valentina with the song Imagine. And it was because for me, it was the most powerful of the few ones presented in that edition, with that happy and vivacious character from her who made your day happy, also by incorporating a lot of dance, and was catching that childish spirit perfectly by appealing to the game with the imagination. In the junior contest, she recorded her live performance in Paris, joined by child dancers with very striking visual graphics. And what to say about her vocal performance, it was just perfect. It will be enough for her to achieve the first of many victories France will start to have in these recent years. We left Poland to travel to the Gallic country in 2021, which was organizing an edition of the junior contest for the very first time, being held in the French capital, Paris. Many countries that withdrew during the last edition came back that year, and from all of them, my most remarkable entry was the Russian one, represented by Tanya Meshentseva with the song Mon Ami. The song was already quite promising, but after winning the national final, it will go on to a rebound, which made it outstand much more. In the other hand, Tanya had already the previous experience at Junior Eurovision 2 years before, that time as part of a duo with Dan Orjak, and this time she attended as a soloist, so she already knew what it was being on the stage of the junior contest, which does not happen very frequently, by the way. However, for her live performance, she faced difficulties as she got a very strong flu that affected her voice quite much, to the point that it was uncertain if she will be able to perform her entry in the televised show. In the end, she done her best despite still being sick, even so that she improved her position from 2 years ago by placing 7th. Despite the fact that this will be the last participation for Russia today in the junior contest, as we already know, it will be excluded from the EBU afterwards due to the invasion started against Ukraine. For the following year, in 2022, we were traveling to the Caucasus once again, specifically to Armenia, where it was organized another edition of the junior contest for the second time, and once again in Yerevan. My favorite entry appeared just at the very beginning of the season from the Netherlands, represented by Luna with the song La Festa, from which you can watch the review I have made for the entry up here. But in summary, it was literally a very cheerful and danceable party, with which she won a Junior Song Festival and with which she will achieve in the junior contest a respectable 7th place in the final ranking. It is a song that I usually enjoy every time I listen it, and that always makes me move my body. Then we go back to France in 2023, which was organizing the competition once again, this time picking as the host city the main city of the French Riviera. I'm talking in this case about Nice. There were many powerful entries competing that year, but the one definitely low was the one presented by Spain, which was represented by Sandra Valero with the song Love You. I remember hearing it for the first time and being surprised on how amazing and well prepared was the proposal, which you can also take a look, by the way, in the song review I have made up here. From the very first moment, I thought it was an entry with very high chances to win the competition because it had it all. It was fresh, fun, happy, in addition that she showcased charisma and vocal quality, and that was capturing the essence of the junior contest. Thereafter, when I saw her live performance, it was just fantastic. So much so that she was even really close to winning and placing as a runner-up behind France. And when we thought that it would be organizing another consecutive edition on last year, repeated the same feat done by Poland back in the days, France must step aside after having to organize the Summer Olympic Games precisely in the French capital, so it became unexpectedly an opportunity for Spain to host an edition of the junior contest for the very first time, 20 years after their victory being held in Madrid. From the entries presented, my favorite this time was the Estonian one, represented by Annabelle with the song Tanabat, from which I leave her song review up here. And it was because I love it since the first time I have heard it, and even more after she released the official music video. I thought it was a very fresh, powerful and animated proposal with a quite interesting message, and despite she did not have a high-pitched voice like the girls of her age, as she is a contralto, for me, she had everything needed to stand out and make a good impact with her proposal. However, when she stepped on the stage of the junior contest, I saw her live performance somewhat deflated. She was not at the optimal as I would expect vocally speaking, and the staging was kind of simple in my opinion. I consider that they could have done something more impactful like the music video, which was turned finally in a 14th place in the final ranking. Now I move on to the senior edition to check out that last 10 entries that definitely are not only just included in my playlist, but had and are still having an impact and a special meaning in my life. I begin in 2015 with that edition that was held in Vienna, Austria, and my favorite from that year without any doubt was the Italian entry, which was represented by the guys of Il Bono with the song Grande Amore. I already knew them since their beginnings, and they were already having a great success, not only in Europe but in Latin America, so it was an authentic revelation to see them competing in the mythical Sanremo Music Festival. When I had heard the proposal for the very first time, I just got amazed, and the lyrics were that special that even I dedicated the song to my partner. During that time, our relationship was in the beginnings, but the connection and the bond was that big that I did not have any doubt on doing it. Now I take advantage to say a kiss to my husband that must be watching and listening from the other side of the screen. During the contest, they had a magnificent performance, and especially being in charge of closing the grand final, it was a closure with a final flourish. They were fantastic live, and I really thought that they would have more than enough to win, but in the end they got a third place that it was left wanting more. Even so, I keep in my mind those nice memories that this song brings me out every time I listen to it. From the Austrian capital, we went later to Scandinavia, specifically to Stockholm, Sweden, where the edition of 2016 took place. In that opportunity, my favorite was another Italian entry. I'm not talking in this case about Francesca Michelin, who represented the Mediterranean country with the song No Degree of Separation. That, as we know, was the bilingual version of the original one in Italian titled Nessun Grado di Separazione, and that attended the contest after being the runner-up, as the original winners, the Italian band Stadio, declined to go to Eurovision because of the already scheduled dates they had for their tour that year. It was a song that when I heard it for the very first time, I was hugely impacted, maybe influenced once again for those great feelings due to my relationship with my husband. Another thing that influenced it as well was that her voice and melodic style reminded me instantly to those first years of career of Laura Pausini, who I do admire a lot as an artist in Saba. In the contest, the proposal that she presented was not that impactful like when I discovered it in the beginning, despite the performance was right, but she was not that bad after all, placing 16 in the final ranking, and it is a song that it is still giving me a lot of goosebumps. For the year 2017, the competition was attending Kiev, Ukraine for the second time, and once again, my big favorite was another more Italian entry, talking specifically from Francesco Gavani, who represented the Mediterranean country with the song Occidentalis Karma. It is a song with which I get plenty identified with its message because of the satirical criticism he does to many people in our Western society for the abuse of internet and its conformist, materialist, and superficial attitude, giving the impression that we are stepping backwards in the evolution of human species. During the contest, the proposal was highlighted as one of the big favorites to win the competition since the beginning, and while I saw good his performance, very similar to the one that he done at San Remo Music Festival, I felt that it lacked much more impact, that it could give much more of itself like in the plot of the official music video, but even so, he ended up placing 6th in the final ranking. Now we go to the most western part of the Iberian Peninsula, where an edition of the contest took place for the very first time in Lisbon, Portugal in 2018, and my favorite that time was the Georgian entry, which was represented by Iriao with the song Sheni Gulisvis or For You. Surely you must be surprised and must be thinking, but why are you talking about it? It was not even a favorite or anything. I know this perfectly well. In fact, no one understood what I saw in this proposal, which was outside of the standards of the regular entries in the contest, that taking into account that Georgia was still in that phase where it was opting to present the most experimental and unconventional entries. What happens with this song is that the specific blend between ethnic jazz and polyphonic singing conquered me, as I always have been a fan of the polyphonic and choral melodies. In fact, I was myself in a choir many years ago, so every time I listen a song like this, it automatically throws me back to that short period of time in which I was a bass, although I'm a baritone by the way. During the contest, despite having a good performance, it was expected that they would not get too many votes from the public, and they eventually placed last in the second semi-final, thus not being able to qualify to the grand final. Despite the result, it is a song that I'm still listening nowadays and that I still like no matter what people say. In 2019, the contest was going back to Israel after many decades being celebrated that time in Tel Aviv. During that year, my absolute favorite was the favorite of many, the entry presented from the Netherlands by Duncan Lawrence with the song Arcade. It was one of those songs that became an authentic viral phenomenon upon its premiere. Something was telling me that in addition to the huge potential it already had, it could get a great result at the contest. We could figure it out with his live performance, just with him at the piano showing us an absolutely flawless performance. And what eventually happened is mostly known. He will end up winning the competition without any doubt among many other entries that were also big favorites, thus achieving the 5th victory for the Dutch nation. For the year 2020, it was supposed that we would travel to Rotterdam, Netherlands, and the season was on its peak. But with the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic earlier that year and getting things complicated around the world, it happened the unimaginable thing. For the very first time in the history, it was cancelled at edition of the contest, and it felt like the world had stopped completely. Before the fateful announcement had happened, I had then a very clear favorite, and it was the Albanian entry represented by Arilena Ara with the song Fall from the Sky that many people do not know, but this was the original version of the song, having to translate it to Albanian in order to participate eventually at a festival in Kangas, when normally happens the opposite, and it was titled Shy. It's a spectacular power ballad of those ones that gives you goosebumps, and that happened when I heard it for the very first time, the final version of the song that would have competed at the contest, and her voice is just plenty of power. In fact, she has a very particular tone of voice that reminds me a lot to Katy Perry, to the point that if someone told me that it was a song of hers instead of Arilena, I would not have noticed the difference. There will always be doubts on what would have happened on the main stage of Rotterdam with this entry, but even so, I'm still listening it over and over, and I say it for two reasons. First, because I know that many people are still reluctant to listen songs from that year, which is not my case, and second, because the song is still having an impact on me nowadays and I'm still liking it very much. For the following edition in 2021, Netherlands retained the right to host the competition. As we know, the majority of the countries opted to internally reselecting their representatives chosen the previous year, although they will participate with different songs. This time, after checking out the entries for the edition, there was one that definitely captivated me, and it was the Norwegian entry represented by Tix with the song Fallen Angel. It is a song with which I felt plenty identified because it is a reflection of what it feels like being excluded and rejected from very early age for being different to what is standard in society, and is why I could understand what he told with his personal story by having the Tourette syndrome. His performance at Melody Grand Prix was also very iconic, with himself representing that fallen angel fighting against the demons he has around him, symbolizing those inner demons with which he deals inside his mind as a result of his battle against depression and rejection. He will recreate it at the contest eventually, with which he will get the 18th place in the final ranking, although he deserved to be much higher. Maybe he did not win Eurovision, but he wanted support and the respect from the public by telling his story and his truth to the rest of Europe. Later, we went to Italy, specifically to Turin, where it was held the edition of 2022, in which I have as favorite that time the entry presented by Poland, represented by Okoman with the song River. You can watch more details of the song review I have done then in the link above. During the season, he stood out especially for his flawless performance in the national final and the official music video he released ahead of his participation, loaded with a lot of symbolism and meaning. However, during his live performance at the contest, I felt it like a little deflated. I'm not saying it because of his voice, as he was magnificent, but for the staging he had. I think that rain and that storm on the line with the image as well as the contemporary dancers seemed to diminish it instead of giving added value to the performance. Even so, he will get an outstanding 12th place in the final ranking, which was left wanting more, because for me it would have been perfectly a well-deserved victory for Poland after that extraordinary vocal showcase. For the year 2023, the contest will be organized as it has happened in exceptional occasions in the United Kingdom due to the impossibility to do it on Ukrainian soil, with the warfare between Russia and Ukraine on its peak, picking this time the city of Liverpool. This edition was quite tough, taking into account that there were very outstanding entries and there was not a clear favorite, but mine was undoubtedly the Finnish one, represented by the now Eurovision legend Karija with the song Cha 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 that you can check out in full detail in the review up here. It was a song with which I felt plenty identified in that moment, as my situation in terms of my job was not the best, to be honest. What got me especially fascinated was all that blend of musical genres in a sing song which curiously matched perfectly. Then when I saw his performance at all the Musica Guild pilot, it was just open mouth the whole 3 minutes, to the point that I got stunned, and much more after seeing how he smashed with the telephone. It was totally crazy, representing the birth of an authentic phenomenon that would not leave anyone indifferent in the contest. And precisely that he was almost to win the competition after smashing with the telephone once again, but in the end he was the runner-up behind another Eurovision legend, the Queen Loreen, which was achieving a feat like no other in the contest. Closing with last year, the most recent edition was held for the 3rd time in Malmö, Sweden, that is now considered the most convulsive and controversial edition in the history of the contest. Even with all that, it was also the year in which many of the contestants became authentic phenomenons, and one of them was my absolute favorite. I'm talking in this case of the Croatian entry represented by Baby Lasagna with the song Rintim Dalirin, in which I'll talk extensively in the review you can watch up here. For me, this song has a huge impact personally, and that truly represents me, by being myself an immigrant that had to leave its native country in the search for a better quality of life and better opportunities in another developed country. What was definitely surprising with this entry was the fact that it went from being a backup entry on Dora to win the national final against all odds with a performance that was most of all iconic. It was clear that he was destined to achieve big things at the contest, even without knowing everything that would happen during the contest week, as we already know. Finally, during the contest, he would achieve a very similar feat like Karija did the previous year, smashing the table outstandingly, although in the same way it was not enough to get the victory and ultimately placing as the runner-up. In any case, despite not winning, it is a song that is going to be with me always, as it is also part of my own personal story. Now, as I have been usually doing, I have prepared a collection of live performances of many of the artists that were on the stage of Pride Barcelona on last year, who were as well at Eurovision during the last edition held in Malmo, leaving us memorable performances, so get comfortable and enjoy this collection up next.
I just gave it some time, now I found paradise, I broke the code. Yeah. Let me tell you a tale about life for the good and the bad, better hold on tight. Who's like what's wrong, what's right, everything is balanced, everything's light. I got so much on my mind, and I've been awake all night. I'm so pumped, I'm so psyched, it's bigger than me, I'm getting so hyped like. Let me taste the lows and highs. Let me feel that burning flame. Barcelona, you with me? I went to hell and back to find myself on track. I broke the code, like heaven knows. I just gave it some time, now I found paradise. I broke the code.
Si me divierto la más zorra, si el algo se me hace de día.
¿Qué soy?
¡Soy más zorra todavía! Cuando consigo lo que quiero, no zorra, jamás es porque lo merezco, zorra, zorra. Y aunque me esté comiendo el mundo, no se valora ni un segundo. Estoy en un buen momento, solo era cuestión de tiempo. Voy a salir a la calle a gritar lo que siento a los cuatro vientos. Estoy en un buen momento, reconstruida por dentro. Y esa zorra que tanto tenía se fue empoderando y ahora es una zorra de pasta.
I hope you have enjoyed them as much as me. I also want to totally recommend to attend a Eurovision party in Amsterdam, London, Madrid, or the closest city you have, but at least attend one. As I have said before, it's an opportunity to live in a unique experience by watching the performances of many of the contestants for the edition, as well as many Eurovision legends that are usually recurring in these prior events to the contest, especially if you could not get tickets for the contest live in the whole city. Giving some final comments, I would like to thank you to everyone that are following me in this channel, for being here with me throughout these 3 years, for having the possibility to share a passion in common with you, looking to offer a different perspective and a more complete vision of the different entries in both Eurovision and Junior Eurovision. Thank you for all the likes, the comments, and the support you are giving me. I know that we are still a small community, but I hope I could keep growing in the following years, so this birthday Eurofan can be with you for many more years. And this is it for today's episode. Before I finish, I invite you to like this video so you can give me your support, and at the same time you can help me to reach to much more people. Subscribe to my channel if you have not done it yet, and enable notifications by the bell to be aware of the upcoming episodes, and find me and follow me through my social media. Take care and see you in the next episode. Bye bye.